The first time Clara Whitmore stepped into that pool without a single piece of clothing on her body and looked straight at me, I stopped breathing. Not because of what she looked like, not because I had never seen a naked woman before, but because of the way she said it. Calm, steady, like she had already made peace with whatever happened next. Come fix this with me. My name is Michael. I am 27 years old, and I clean pools for people who live in houses bigger than anything I ever dreamed of owning. I drive a white work truck with Peninsula Pool Service written on the side. I wear the same navy shirt every day with my name stitched over the pocket. Most of my clients barely look at me. I show up, I test their water, I adjust chemicals, I skim out leaves, and I leave. I am in and out before their coffee gets cold. The Whitmore house was just another stop on my Wednesday route. Same time every week, 7 in the morning. Quiet street, tall hedges, stone driveway. The backyard looked like something from a magazine. A kidney-shaped saltwater pool sitting in the middle of perfect gray pavers. 2 white lounge chairs. Clean lines. Glass doors that opened into a bright kitchen I had never stepped inside. For 6 months, nothing about that house stood out. The water was always clean. No toys floating around. No beer cans hiding in the skimmer basket. No dead leaves clogging the pump. Just calm, blue water and silence. I liked jobs like that. Predictable, clean, no drama. Mrs. Whitmore, Clara, was polite but distant. I only knew her first name because I saw it once on an envelope near the patio table. Sometimes she would pass by the glass doors and give a small wave. I would nod. That was it. No long conversations, no personal questions. Just another rich wife in another quiet house. Until that first Wednesday when something shifted. I was brushing the walls of the pool when I heard the sliding door open. I glanced up. She stepped outside wearing a white robe, barefoot on the warm stone. Her dark hair was loose over her shoulders. No makeup, no jewelry. She looked softer than usual. Less perfect, more real. "Morning," I said. "Morning," she answered. Her voice was quiet but steady. "Sorry to bother you. I have a question." I rested the brush against the tile. "Sure." "Is the water pressure in the upstairs bathroom connected to the pool system at all?" I shook my head. "No, that's house plumbing. Totally separate." "Oh." She nodded slowly, like she was thinking about more than just pipes. She did not go back inside. She stood there, arms folded loosely, watching me check the filter pressure. The air felt different, not wrong, just aware. "You come every Wednesday?" she asked. "Yeah." "Same time unless there's a problem. And if there is a problem, quote, I come back. Emergency service costs more." She gave a small smile at that. "Good to know." I finished up, packed my tools, and walked toward the gate. I could feel her eyes on my back. When I glanced over my shoulder, she was still standing there, looking at the pool like it was holding a secret. The next week, she came outside sooner. Same robe. Coffee in her hand, she sat on one of the lounge chairs and watched me work. Most clients go back inside. She stayed. "Do you like this job?" she asked. "It's fine," I said. "Pays the bills." That's not what I asked. I straightened up and met her eyes. "Yeah, I like it. It's quiet, predictable. You can see when you've done a good job." She studied me like that answer meant something. "Those are good reasons." "What do you do?" I asked. "Nothing," she said with a small laugh that did not sound happy. "My husband works. I manage things." "Manage what?" "The house, the calendar, the appearance of having a life." The way she said it made something twist in my chest. It was supposed to be a joke, but it wasn't. Before I could respond, movement caught my eye near the fence. An older woman with short gray hair stood on the sidewalk holding a small dog. She was staring through the slats at us. Clara saw her too. Her posture changed instantly. Shoulders straight. Smile gone. "I should let you finish," she said quickly. She went inside without another word. That line stayed in my head all week. The appearance of having a life. The next Wednesday, she was already sitting at the edge of the pool when I walked in. Her robe hung loose around her shoulders. Her feet dangled in the water. "My husband travels every Wednesday," she said after a few minutes. Did you know that? No, I answered, keeping my eyes on the test strip colors. He's in Seattle, or San Francisco, or New York. Always Wednesday. I didn't say anything. I checked the pump pressure. So Wednesdays are mine, she said softly. The only day I get to exist without being watched. I'm watching you right now, I said before I could stop myself. She looked at me. No, you're working. There's a difference. Something in her voice made the air feel heavier. Clara, I said carefully, what do you want from me? She stood up slowly, like she had already decided. Then she reached down, untied the belt of her robe, and let it fall. The fabric slid off her shoulders and dropped onto the stone. She was completely naked. My body went still. My brain started shouting at me to look away, to grab my tools, to leave. But I couldn't move. She walked to the edge of the pool and looked straight at me. Not shy, not daring, just honest. Come fix this with me, she said softly. Then she stepped into the water. Every alarm inside me went off at once. I stared at the surface of the pool instead of her body. I focused on the ripples, on the sunlight dancing across the tiles. She moved deeper until the water covered her chest. Then she floated on her back, eyes closed, hair spreading out around her. I did not move toward her. I did not run away. I stayed exactly where I was. After what felt like forever, she swam to the steps and climbed out. Water ran down her skin. She picked up her robe and slipped it back on like nothing had happened. Thank you, she said. For what? My throat felt dry. For not moving. She went inside and closed the door. I stood there shaking. The smell of chlorine hung in the air. My heart felt like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. That morning split my life into before and after. Before, I was just a pool guy doing a job. After, I was something else, a witness, a test she had already decided I needed to pass. The next Wednesday, I almost didn't show up. I sat in my truck outside her house with the engine running, hands tight on the wheel. I could drive away. No one would know. But I killed the engine, grabbed my tools, and walked through the gate. Clara was sitting at the patio table, fully dressed this time. Jeans, sweater, hair pulled back. She looked normal, like nothing had happened. Morning, she said calmly. Morning. I worked in silence. The quiet felt heavier than the day she had stood naked in front of me. When I finished, I picked up my bag. Michael, she said. I turned. Same time next week? There was something in her eyes. Nervous, hopeful. I don't know, I said honestly. Please, she whispered. You're the only person in my life who doesn't seem to want something from me. I swallowed. I do want something. Her face tightened. I want you not to make this complicated, I said. She let out a slow breath. It's already complicated. I left that day knowing one thing for sure. Whatever this was, it was not about the pool. Whatever this was, it was not about the pool. After that morning, everything felt sharper. The sound of the water, the way the sunlight hit the tile, even the small click of the gate when I left. It was like something invisible had shifted between us, and we both knew it. The next Wednesday, I showed up on time, but my stomach was tight the whole drive over. I kept telling myself to treat it like any other job. Test the water, check the pump, leave, keep it clean, keep it simple. Clara was already outside when I walked through the gate. She was sitting at the patio table with a mug in both hands, fully dressed again. Jeans and a soft gray sweater. Her hair pulled back in a low ponytail. She looked like any other wife in any other quiet neighborhood. Morning, she said. Morning. I set my kit down and went straight to the pool. No small talk, no eye contact longer than necessary. I dipped the test strip into the water and waited for the colors to change. After a few minutes, she spoke. You almost didn't come. I did not look at her, thought about it. Why didn't you drive away? Because running would have made it worse. For who? She asked softly. For both of us. The air felt heavy but calm. Not charged the way it had the day she stepped into the water. More like two people standing at the edge of something and trying to decide how close they could get without falling in. "I wasn't trying to tempt you," she said. "I know," I answered. "You do?" I nodded. "If you wanted to tempt me, you would have walked toward me. You didn't. You floated away." She stared at the surface of the pool for a long moment. "I needed to know something," she said. "What?" If there was still at least one man in my life who could look at me and not take. That hit me harder than anything else she had said. I adjusted the chemical feeder just to give my hand something to do. "I'm not some kind of hero," I said. "I didn't say you were." She gave a small smile. "You're just different." Over the next few weeks, Wednesdays became something else. I still did my job. I clocked in, I clocked out. But she stayed outside almost the entire time. Sometimes she asked about my other clients. Sometimes she told me small stories about her week. Nothing dramatic, just pieces. She told me about charity lunches she didn't care about dinners where her husband checked his phone between every bite, about neighbors who smiled too much and listened too closely. "There's a woman down the street," she said one morning. "Short gray hair, small dog. Her name is Lena. I've seen her. She watches everything." I thought about the way that woman had stood at the fence, staring through the slats. "People like that always do," I said. Clara's voice softened. "Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a glass box." "You have tall hedges," I said. "That doesn't mean no one's looking." I finished brushing the deep end and climbed out, water dripping from the pole. "We haven't done anything wrong," I said. She looked at me carefully. "Not yet." The words hung there between us. Not a threat, not an invitation, just a fact. A few days later, my supervisor called me while I was driving between jobs. "Got a minute?" Evan asked. "Yeah. I've been hearing that you're spending extra time at the Whitmore place." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. "I'm doing the job." "I know, but perception matters. Married client, quiet neighborhood. HOA is picky." "Nothing's happening," I said. "I believe you," he answered. "Just keep it clean, in and out, no reason for anyone to talk." After that call, I felt the pressure more, not from Clara, from the street, from the windows, from the feeling that someone might always be watching. The next Wednesday I parked and noticed the gray-haired neighbor across the street. She stood on her lawn with that small dog, pretending not to stare. When I walked through the gate, Clara was standing by the pool instead of sitting. Her arms were crossed over her chest like she was holding herself together. "Lena called the HOA," she said before I could speak. My stomach dropped. "About what?" "About you, about us." "There is no us." "I know that," she said quickly, "but she doesn't." I set my tools down slowly. "Did your husband hear about it?" Quote, "Yes." She looked away. "They told him there were concerns about professionalism." "What did you say?" "I told him you're careful, that Lena is bored and dramatic." "And did he believe you?" "For now." That word stayed in my head. For now. I finished the cleaning faster than usual that day. Clock in, clock out. Just like Evan told me. When I zipped up my bag, Clara stepped closer than she had in weeks. Not touching. Just closer. "Are you scared?" she asked. "Of losing my job?" I said. "Yeah." "Of me?" I met her eyes. "No." She let out a breath like she had been holding it all morning. "I don't want to ruin your life." "You're not." "Maybe I am," she whispered. 2 days later, I got the call I knew was coming. Evan's voice was calm but firm. "I'm taking the Whitmore account off your route," he said. "For how long?" "Indefinite. HOA doesn't want drama." I sat in my truck after that call, staring at the road in front of me. Just like that, Wednesdays at 7 were gone. The first week without her felt strange. I woke up automatically at 6:15 like always. My body expected that quiet backyard. Instead, I was headed somewhere else. Another house. Another pool. Another life that had nothing to do with Clara Whitmore. 3 weeks passed. I did not drive past her street. I told myself that was discipline. That was maturity. Then one night at 11, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. "There's a leak in the equipment. I don't trust anyone else. Can you come?" My heart started pounding before my brain caught up. I knew it was her. I also knew there was probably no leak. I stared at the screen for a long time. I could ignore it. Protect my job. Protect whatever distance we had forced between us. Instead, I typed, "When?" "Now. The porch light will be on." I grabbed my keys before I could change my mind. The neighborhood looked different at night. Quieter. More private. Every house dark except for that single porch light glowing by the Whitmore door. The gate was unlocked. When I stepped into the backyard, Clara was sitting at the edge of the pool in jeans and a hoodie. Her feet were in the water. Steam rose in thin lines from the surface. "Hi," she said softly. "Where's the leak?" I asked. "There isn't one." I set my tools down anyway. I figured. She looked smaller somehow, less controlled. "I just needed to see you," she said, "to say goodbye the right way." "Is that what this is?" Quote. "It has to be." Her voice trembled. "After the complaint, after the HOA call, we can't keep risking it." We sat there side by side, not touching, listening to the hum of the filter. The night felt thick around us. "You changed something for me," she said quietly. "That morning in the pool. You showed me that someone could see me and still choose restraint. I didn't know that was possible." I stared at the water. "I think about you every Wednesday at 7. She closed her eyes like that hurt. "Don't say that." "It's true." Silence settled between us again, but it was different now, not uncertain, just heavy with everything we were not doing. "I can't leave him," she said. "I can't leave this life. It's empty sometimes, but it's mine." "I'm not asking you to," I answered. "Then what are we doing?" I did not have a clean answer. All I knew was that whatever this was, it mattered. And the more we stayed in that space together, the harder it would be to keep standing on the deck instead of stepping into the water. I did not have a clean answer that night by the pool. All I knew was that sitting next to Clara felt honest in a way the rest of my life did not. And that scared me more than anything she had done. We did not touch. We did not lean closer. We just sat there with the steam rising between us like a thin wall. "For how long?" she asked finally. "For as long as we can without hurting more than ourselves," I said. She nodded, but her eyes told me she knew that clock was already ticking. After that night, we became careful. No more Wednesdays at 7. No more standing in broad daylight where neighbors could watch through fences. If she texted, it was late. If I came over, it was after the street went dark. We never crossed the line people expect in a story like this. We never kissed. We never held hands longer than a second when one of us needed comfort. We sat. We talked. We told the truth. And somehow, that felt more dangerous. One Thursday night, I walked through the gate and saw her sitting with her knees pulled to her chest. She looked tired. "He barely speaks to me unless we're at an event," she said. "At home, I feel like furniture." "You're not furniture," I answered. "I know that here," she said, pressing her hand lightly against her chest. "But out there, I forget." I wanted to reach for her. I wanted to promise something I had no right to promise. Instead, I kept my hands on my own knees. "You deserve to feel real in your own house," I said. She smiled sadly. "You make it sound simple." "It's not simple, it's just true." The more we talked, the more I realized this had never been about temptation. It had been about being seen. She needed someone to look at her without trying to own her. I needed someone to talk to who wasn't just another client or coworker. But the world around us did not care about intentions. It only cared about appearances. 3 months after that first late-night visit, she texted me on a Tuesday. "Equipment is acting up. Can you come tonight?" I knew what it meant. I grabbed my tool bag anyway. It made it easier to lie to myself if I carried something that looked official. When I walked into the backyard, Clara was standing stiff near the pool. And she was not alone. A man stood near the sliding glass doors. Pressed shirt. Dark slacks, silver at his temples. He had the posture of someone used to giving orders. Her husband. My chest tightened. "Can I help you?" he asked, his voice calm but sharp. "Pool service," I said evenly. "Got a call about equipment trouble." He turned to Clara. "You called them, quote." "Yes," she said smoothly. "This afternoon. You were on that conference call." He studied her for a long second. Then he looked at me again, as if deciding whether I was worth the effort. "Fine," he said at last. "Fix it. Send the bill to the office." He went inside without another word. The door slid shut. The sound felt louder than it should have. I walked to the equipment panel and opened it, even though I knew nothing was wrong. My hands moved automatically. Pump, filter, gauges, all normal. "I'm sorry," she whispered behind me. "His flight changed. I didn't know." "It's okay," I said quietly. "It's not." Her voice shook. "He saw you. If anything looks strange later, he'll remember." I closed the panel slowly. "Then we stop." Her breath caught. "Right now?" "Yes." She stared at me like I had just struck her. "I don't want to stop." "Neither do I said. "But we don't get to have this both ways." "We haven't done anything wrong," she said. "Not technically," I answered, "but we're not invisible." Her eyes filled with tears she was trying hard to hold back. "I can't go back to being a ghost." "You're not a ghost," I said firmly. "Even if we never speak again, you are real to me." That seemed to hurt more than comfort her. "So that's it?" she asked. "We pause," I said, "until it's safe." "If it's ever safe." She nodded slowly. "You're right, and I hate you for it." "I hate me for it too." I stepped away from the equipment area and toward the gate. I did not look back. If I did, I knew I might change my mind. "Goodbye, Michael," she said behind me. "Goodbye, Clara." The gate clicked shut between us. For 8 weeks, I kept my distance. No late-night drives. No turning down her street just to see if the porch light was on. I worked. I kept my head down. I filled my Wednesdays with other things so I would not think about 7 in the morning. But every Wednesday at 7, I still woke up automatically. My body remembered. One afternoon, a new client's wife said, "My husband's at golf most Wednesdays. Nice and quiet. You could take your time." There was something in her eyes that reminded me of Clara, that same careful loneliness. "I don't do Wednesdays," I said calmly. "Company policy." It was not company policy. It was mine. A week later, my phone buzzed late at night. Unknown number. "The pool needs winterizing. I trust you." One last time. I stared at the message for a long time. Winterizing meant draining lines, covering the surface, letting the water go still for months. It felt symbolic in a way that made my chest ache. "When?" I typed. "Thursday. Late. When the neighborhood is asleep." I sat there with my phone in my hand, knowing that if I went, it would not just be about equipment. It would be about closing something neither of us had ever fully opened. I wrote back, "I'll be there." The night air was colder when I pulled up. The porch light glowed softly. The rest of the house was dark. The gate was unlocked. When I stepped inside, Clara was sitting by the pool again, wrapped in a long sweater, steam rising from the water like it was holding on to warmth for as long as it could. "You came," she said. "You asked." This time there was no fear in her eyes, just something steady. I set my tool bag down beside me. I had a feeling this would be the last time I did that in her backyard. And for the first time since all of this began, I did not feel like I was standing at the edge of something. I felt like we were about to choose which direction our lives would move next. The night felt different from every other night I had walked through that gate. Not tense, not desperate, just clear, like both of us finally understood what this was and what it was not. Clara pulled her sweater tighter around herself as I sat down beside her. The pool water was still warm, but the air had a sharp edge to it. Fall was settling in. The season was changing whether we were ready or not. "You're really going to winterize it?" she asked softly. "That's what you called me for," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. She gave a small smile. "You know that's not what I meant." I looked at the water. "Yeah, I know." For a while, we just sat there. The surface of the pool reflected the porch light in a soft yellow glow. This place had been our strange little world. Not because we touched, not because we broke vows, but because we told the truth here. "I used to think something was wrong with me," she said quietly. "That maybe I was just ungrateful. Big house, money, security, but I felt invisible inside it." "You're not invisible," I said. "You made me believe that," she answered. The morning I stepped into the pool, I wasn't trying to seduce you. I was trying to see if anyone could look at me without turning me into something they wanted. You scared the hell out of me, I admitted. She laughed softly. I know. I wanted to run, I said, and I wanted to walk toward you at the same time. But you didn't, she said. No. She turned to look at me fully. That's why this mattered. I stood up and walked to the equipment pad. I started the winterizing process slowly, draining the lines, lowering the water level. Each step felt heavier than it should have. It was just maintenance, just routine, but it felt like sealing something closed. Clara watched quietly. No small talk this time. No pretending. When I finished draining the last line, I came back to sit beside her. The pool was quieter now. The hum softer, the water lower. So what happens after tonight? She asked. You live your life, I said, and I live mine. And Wednesdays? I smiled faintly. Wednesdays will still exist. Quote. She looked down at her hands. Do you regret it? Quote. No, I said without hesitation. Do you? She shook her head. No. I regret that it couldn't be more, but I don't regret what it was. The honesty in that hurt, but it also felt right. I can't leave him, she said again, like she needed to repeat it. Not right now. Maybe not ever. My life is built around this house, this name, this routine. I know. But because of you, I stopped pretending inside my own head, she said. I started speaking up. Small things. Telling him when I'm unhappy. Telling him when I need more. He doesn't always listen, but I stopped being silent. That surprised me. You did? Yes. She nodded. You didn't fix my marriage. You didn't fix me, but you reminded me I was allowed to want something real. The wind moved lightly across the backyard. I could hear a distant car passing on the main road. The world outside her hedges was still moving. I don't want to disappear from your life like none of this mattered, she said. You won't, I answered, but we can't keep doing this either. Quote. She nodded slowly. I know. There was a long pause. Then she did something simple. She reached over and took my hand, not in a hungry way, not desperate, just warm and steady. We sat like that for a few seconds. It was the first time we had held on without fear. Then she let go. Thank you, she said, for staying on the deck. I swallowed. Thank you for trusting me enough to step into the water. She smiled through wet eyes. That sounds poetic for a pool guy. I've had practice, I said softly. I stood up and pulled the cover halfway across the pool. The water underneath looked darker already, still, quiet, waiting for winter. This is the part where I leave, I said. She stood too. For a second, it felt like she might step forward, like we might finally break the line we had held for months. But she didn't. Goodbye, Michael, she said. Her voice was calm, stronger than I had ever heard it. Goodbye, Clara. I walked to the gate slowly. My chest felt tight but not chaotic, just heavy. Right before I pushed it open, she spoke again. If my phone ever lights up late at night, she said, it won't be because I'm lonely. It will be because I remember. I nodded without turning around. I know. The gate closed behind me with a soft click. I didn't look back this time. I didn't need to. Weeks passed, then months. Winter settled in. I filled my schedule with other houses, other pools, other quiet mornings. Life went back to simple routines. Every Wednesday at 7 I still wake up. Not because I have to, just because my body remembers. Sometimes, late at night, my phone buzzes. No words, just a picture. A clean blue pool under a bright sky. I never reply. Not because I don't want to, but because the bravest thing we ever did was not stepping into something reckless. It was choosing restraint when it would have been easier to fall. Some connections are not meant to be owned. They are meant to be honored. Clara did not need me to fix her. She needed someone to see her and step back instead of stepping in. And I needed to learn that sometimes love is not about taking. It is about holding the line. The pool is closed now, covered for the season, still beneath its heavy shield. But every Wednesday at 7, I remember the morning she stepped into the water and asked me to fix something I could never touch. And I remember that the strongest choice we made was the one where we stayed exactly where we were.